If God is all-powerful, why allow Satan the garden in the first place? Why let him so close to humanity's first choice? Most people think that this story is just about temptation, but the truth is, it's about a cosmic rebellion that began before time itself. So today we're going to break down the real reason why God allowed Satan into Eden, using insights from Michael Heiser's work as well as philosophy. So let's jump into it. So most people assume that the serpent in Eden was a literal talking snake. But what if I told you that that's actually not what the Bible teaches? So the Hebrew word for serpent actually is nahash, and it has three meanings. It can mean a literal snake, a divine or supernatural being, as well as a deceiver. And Dr. Michael Heiser explains that Eden wasn't just a nice paradise, but it was the meeting place of his divine counsel. The serpent wasn't just some outsider, but he was a garden cherub. And this actually explains why Eve was just able to have a casual conversation with him. If it were a literal talking snake, surely she would have been alarmed. Surely she's not that gullible, right? So Satan wasn't an intruder, he was a part of the divine council, a being with authority. But something changed. He rebelled. But here's the ultimate question. If God knew that Satan was going to rebel, why create him at all? Here are two reasons. First, rebellion is inevitable. If God wanted to create beings with real moral freedom, some would ultimately reject him. Love and obedience are only meaningful when they're freely chosen, and that means the possibility of rebellion is built into the very nature of free will itself. Second, God ultimately ensures a best kind of world that is good on the whole. Philosopher Trent Doherty argues that a world with moral struggle and redemption is better than a world where goodness is automatic. Satan's presence in the world allows for the growth of virtues that wouldn't exist if there was no real opposition. And here's what most people miss. The angels aren't bound by time like we are. So when they were created, their choice was instantaneous. They either chose to stand with God or to rebel against God. Unlike humans, angels don't grow into their choices. Instead, their decisions are immediate and they're permanent. But that rebellion didn't just stay into the spiritual realm. It actually manifested itself in the garden. Satan's defiance wasn't just internal. It manifested in real time when he deceived Eve. To us, it seems like it took a long time before Satan actually rebelled. But because God transcends time, as well as the angels, their rebellion was instantaneous. And this instantaneous rebellion is directly tied to the rebellion event in Eden. This entire event also mirrors a story from the Silmarillion, where Iluvatar, the supreme creator of the Middle-earth universe, created divine beings called the Aenir. And among them is Melkor, the greatest of the Aenir. But he refuses to sing in harmony with the others. Instead, he introduces his own melody, one of pride and dissonance. And the moment he does, his rebellion is set in motion. Like the Aenir, the angels are created good, reflecting their creator, but they are also created free to side with God or free to rebel against him. And this is exactly what happened with Lucifer. He wasn't created evil. Instead, he had a choice, and he used that choice to rebel against God. But here's a good question. Why doesn't God just destroy Satan? The real answer to this question is that personhood is an intrinsic good, and Satan was created with that. When God creates anything, he creates it good. Us beings, as well as the angels, we corrupt things that are already good. But evil doesn't exist in and of itself. Instead, it's always a corruption or a perversion of what is already good. Satan, once known as Lucifer, has all of these intrinsically good qualities such as agency, will, intellect, and even mere existence itself. These gifts come from God, and God only creates good things. But Satan decided to use his good gifts for evil. So God doesn't just annihilate things just because they choose to rebel against him, because doing so would be contradicting God's nature. So instead, God limits what Satan can do. And this is what Christ did on the cross. He defeated Satan, and Satan no longer has power over any of us. Similarly, in The Lord of the Rings, when Frodo destroys the ring, or should I say Gollum slips off the ledge, Sauron isn't actually completely destroyed, but he no longer has influence over the events of Middle-earth. His spirit still exists, but he can't affect anybody, because the creator of that universe only creates good things, and he can't just annihilate good things. So why was Satan in Eden? Well, because he was given a choice, and his choice was to rebel against God. And because God exists outside of time, rebellion isn't some drawn-out war. It's an instantaneous decision, and once made, it manifests itself across creation. And I think we also need to remember that free will itself is valuable. If God didn't give any of us free will, then we wouldn't be humans. We would just be robots, essentially. I hope this video made sense. I've noticed that a lot of videos that cover this question don't really give satisfactory answers, but hopefully this kind of makes at least a little bit more sense than these other videos. Let me know below in the comments what you thought, and if you have any more questions, feel free to email me. I have that in my bio, so if you have any questions about this or any other biblical topics, theology, philosophy, feel free to hit me up.